Ready?
Go on.
All right. I want to hear about Pearl Harbor. How did the day start?
Well, shall I tell the first part? Because I was the first.
You tell
one.
the first part.
Well, we both heard lots of airplanes going over our house, but we were used to that because we lived close to Fort Island. You know, our own Navy planes going over. But all of a sudden, I said, Reuben said to me, "Oh, just come back to bed." You know, now this is in the December 7th in the morning.
Like early.
Early. "Come back to bed," he said. "No," I said, "I'm already ready and we gotta go throw away the garbage today." That's all that was on my mind was that.
What weekday?
Huh?
What weekday? Like a Sunday?
Sunday, December 7th, 1941. And so I said, let's get the garbage out, Reuben. "Come back to bed," he kept saying. And, he says, "Come on back. We gotta cuddle some more."
He had his priorities in order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like something he'd say.
And so I said, I don't think, I better look out and see what those airplanes are doing. I said, there's so many of them. Also, there was a lot of noise. I could hear the big boom, 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 And so I opened the window out and looked out, and I said, "Reuben," I said, "they have red dots on them." And all of a sudden, I felt the back of my neck of my jacket pulled back and thrown back onto the bed. And I was laughing, and I thought, he said, "Japs." And I was laughing because I thought he still wanted me back in bed. I'm only telling you this because you're family.
Right. Right. It's just you and me and the wall. Okay.
So anyway, and so he says, "Jeps." Now again, I was already in my little house coat. So when he said "Japs," he got out of the bed and went for the closet to get dressed. And I was already dressed, so I ran outside to see better. What could I see? Well, I could see this. We had across the street, on the main street, we were like the next house to the house on the corner. So I could see the smoke, and I could hear the bombing. And all of a sudden, here comes another airplane. Well, I stood there and I looked at him. It was just like, you want to see what's going on. And as I looked up at him, I saw the rear gunner with a big machine gun shooting at me, just going away like this. Just shooting and just
50 caliber.
50 calibers. Thank God, and my guardian angel were with me that day because not one, I could feel him hitting the lawn where I was standing around me.
You were strafed.
He was strafing me, yeah. And so I was probably part of the first.
They had a lot of bullet holes in the house,
So
coming down to the ceiling, down to the floor.
Bullet holes through the roof and into the house.
Yeah, he
So
was
I-
strafing everything.
when I walked in the house, he told me, "Get in here," so I did. Well, yeah, this is kind of serious with strafing. But I saw the airplane leave. They were flying very low, just above the tree. So I could see his face about as good as I see yours now.
The face of the pilot?
No, of the
Of the gunner.
gunner.
Of the Jap?
Yeah, and his band with a red dot on it. I could see him. So as I ran back in the house, I said, "What's happened here, you dirty people?" I says, "You got dirt all over. There's a sawdust everywhere." In my clean, pretty little house at that time. And I says, "There's sawdust all over." Well, we realized that we were full of bullets. When he was strafing me, he was strafing the house too, and all around the area. Well, now, Reuben went off.
That's when you declared war.
So then when,
Didn't know. Yes.
so I'm just telling you what was happening at that time. So then Reuben said, well, let's go down to the beach. Let's get in the car. Go ahead, you tell it from there.
Take it, Reuben.
What?
What happened then?
We got in the car,
Yeah,
we drove down to the end of the peninsula, which is right across from Ford Island. And when we got down near the beach, on the Naval Air Station is on our side of the Ford Island. You could see the PBYs and everything blowing up.
What's a PBY?
That big
Airplane.
2-engine
Your our
Navies.
planes.
Yeah, the our planes. They were strafing and bombing any aircraft around. And so I says, well, this is no place for us. We jumped in the car and went back to the house.
no, that was not how it was. As we stood there, we could see one of the ships right in front of us as it turned over.
Which one?
The Nevada, I think it was.
The Nevada.
I think it was. I have to look it up again. Or maybe it was.
So you're still just in shock. You don't know
yeah,
what to
shot,
think.
Yeah. Then we heard
Hard to
people
believe.
yell at the guy up and down the beach saying, everybody in the service report back to your base. So that's when Reuben, go ahead, now you take.
Like over a loudspeaker.
No,
There's-
just yelling out right along
Just
the
yelling.
beach, just like I would be yelling, you know.
Yeah, we lived about 5-6 miles from the base, Eva Marine Base. And when I got there,
So you're already in your uniform.
No,
no, just
Just civilian
fatigues,
clothes?
Yeah. And some guys jumped out from out of the brush with rifles and they said, "Get out of the car." So this friend that lived with us, he was alone. We jumped out, and of course they recognized us right away. And so we went into the base, and what a shambles. Every one of our planes was burning. They had just come down strafed. You know, they had a field day, you know. Our planes were nicely lined up. So we didn't have a single plane able to fly. And so we said, well, what do we do now? You know, nobody had any idea what to do, so I got a couple guys with me, and we went into the ordnance tent and pulled out a box that says Browning submachine gun, model 1912 or something. Used in World War I. So we pulled that out, and we sat there for a couple hours cleaning that gun and putting it together.
Just not knowing if you're going to have to shoot
Yeah.
troops. Like
They had all the planes
They
had
didn't
left.
have any armament.
The first
They
wave
had
left, right?
Rifles around, you know, but what good are they? So that possibility existed, and nobody knew one way or the other whether the Japanese were prepared to make a landing. You know, whether they had troops out offshore. So anyway, we would do what we could. We took the machine gun out across the runway and set it up in a revetment. And we sat there till dark, loading boxes of ammunition and web belts. So that's about all we could do.
who was in charge?
Huh?
Who was the ranking person in your unit or something? Who was in charge?
Yeah.
How did you know
He was.
you were in charge?
Oh yes. I had some experience with them. I was
At that
Yes.
point, what was your rank?
at that time I was staff sergeant.
So were any of your men wounded or killed so far?
What?
Were any of your men wounded or killed at that
Well,
point?
there was a couple of boys who were wounded, but we had no loss of life because nobody was out there near the planes, and that's all that they were after, was to knock our planes out. So we were lucky there as far as personnel is concerned. But there was a lot of casualties, you know, off the ships that came by. All the guys off the California came out to our base, to those that could get around. So,
How'd you care for them?
Yeah.
How did you care for them? Did you have a doc or a medic or?
Oh yes, yes.
And so
We
did
had
you,
a full.
was the
dispensary
hospital
there, yeah.
full and overflowing then?
We had a full dispensary, regular, couple of doctors there. But there wasn't the serious ones weren't coming to our base. So these were the guys that just wounded or something.
Okay.
The real serious ones went to the AIA hospital, the Naval Hospital, which was up in the hills not far from us. And
So how
Eva
many
sent-
separate bases or satellite bases were there on
Lots.
Pearl Harbor? Like lots and lots, many.
Yes, there was
Quite a
lot.
few, yeah.
And yours was called FB. Yours was, which base was yours?
Eva.
EVA,
EVA, EWA.
EWA. Oh, EVA.
Yeah.
But,
It had been a light of the Air Base for the Navy, in which they abandoned, and we went out there and set it up when I first went out there. Set up tents and everything. We lived in tents. I was in charge of the machine and metal shops at the time, and set up shops, you know, as a service squadron.
To service the planes.
Yeah.
I see.
We-
When you go back, is your home still there? Your little home? It is?
The base?
Your home, your little home is still there?
No,
yes.
it's all wiped out.
No, the base. You're talking the base is wiped out.
Hmm.
The base is wiped out.
Yeah.
That
Well, they closed it down.
But your little home is
Yeah.
still there?
Oh,
Your
yeah.
house? Okay. Well, did you
Yeah.
lose any good friends?
No, I didn't lose anybody. The only thing I lost is a beautiful little Buick Sport convertible I had bought in Honolulu.
They shot it up,
But
huh?
I had to just abandon that thing. It was a little
No. it was-
1927 Buick Roadster.
And it was
In
shot up or
beautiful
set on
condition.
fire or what?
No, no.
Yeah.
No, just that he had to leave it there.
It,
He just had
Why?
to leave it at the base.
He was sent out to the Pacific War to the islands, I
Oh.
guess. And you went home, right? You went to San
Well,
Diego?
can I tell you where I went after this?
Okay.
Yes.
Reuben told me, "You'll be all right. The army will come and take care of you. They'll tell you what to do." And there was a little post of army post just down the street from us, in a little gully like, and they were camped down there. And sure enough, they came through, and they said how they did these things. I mean, how they planned these things so quickly. They said, "Everybody get out of this area," because of course we were so close to the water there, to the harbor, as to get out of here. And so get out on the main road and someone will pick you up and take you where you have to
No
go.
suitcase, no personal items?
No, they told us just take the food with you. What did I have? I only had one small can of corn. Canned corn. You know, the small cans. So away I went, my little pink suit.
In your Sunday clothes?
Up to the street, and sure enough, along came a car, and they were picking up the women and children.
You didn't take pictures or anything? You
No,
just wanted to
no.
run for your lives?
No, I wasn't afraid, really. I wasn't afraid at all. I
Where
was
did
just
you
gonna
think you
do
were
what-
going?
I was just going to do what they told me to do. The army was in charge. Reuben told me the army would be in charge.
Do what they say.
So they do what they say. So they got us up into another gully we went up the hill on the opposite side of Pearl City, which is now, of course, all built up. But anyway, we went up there through these cane fields. and the road just kept going, and we seemed to get higher and higher. And then there was a gully, and they told us to get down into the gully. They were going to bring in a tent to cover us. Now remember why they have rain all the time. And so I was one of the first ones down there, so I helped to set up the tent, help the boys pull on the tent this way and that way. But it didn't take long when they just took over and took care of it. More people came, more people came, more people came.
Mostly women and children?
Women and children. And it was, they said, just lay down and go to sleep. And so I found a spot to sleep on. But I was right on the edge of one of the, you know how a tent is built this way. Well, there were so many people coming in that they kept pulling out the flaps. And I kept moving over and over. I ended up
There's a big pyramidal tent they put the flies up in.
Right.
Make
So at least
them-
there's shelter, but not sides now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was right on the edge, and there was a little 8-year-old girl next to me, and she was so moving all the time and was crying, and her mother was trying to settle her down. And so I looked out with just enough moonlight or whatever it was. I could see there was a stump right ahead. So I said, oh, well, I'll just go sit on that stump. And I sat on the stump, and when I was there, I could see down to Pearl Harbor. And of course, there was no lights there. Just that I knew that was the area. When that evening, there were some airplanes that were coming from the States. And I remember there weren't radios like there and all the information that there is now like that thing. So they didn't know, the people, the service people didn't know that the airplanes were coming in. So they thought they were more Japanese planes. So guess what? They shot them down, and
Yeah,
they
that's
and it
so
all
sad.
fell into Pearl Harbor City, just right overhead. I could just see the planes falling. Well, I didn't know what kind of planes they were either. What kind of planes were those that flew in that night?
Well, there were some SPDs that came in and they shot down some of them. Dive bombers that had been on a patrol with,
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
miscommunication.
so they were dive bombers. So they
yeah.
they looked enough like Japanese planes in the dark
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
everybody was all,
Oh,
Keyed up.
everybody.
yeah.
So one of my friends lived in one of the houses in Pearl City. And
One of the planes.
the planes fell right into their house and burned it up.
were they harmed?
No, she was out. She was out in that tent someplace. Or other tents, you know, they were setting up tents all over the place.
So they knew not to leave people in the homes and buildings.
No.
Yeah.
So, but then when I sat out there on the stump, it rained all night. And here I am in my little pink suit. It was a little top with a pink pants. Summer like, you know. And I said, I gotta get out of here, you know, because I'm all wet. I gotta get home. So I started to head up the embankment. And the soil there is all red, brick red. And I was brick red from top to bottom. Not only did I need a bath, but I had to really change my outfit. And I lost that outfit, by the way, because I never could get that mud out of that outfit. But anyway,
Thank God for one thing, it's always warm in Hawaii. And
yeah, the rain was
the
warm.
temperature is about 85 and there was changes, day or night.
Yeah, that was the one nice thing about it. So I got a ride home. And this is my sad story. That when I was going home, they were driving me home. They said, how come she's going home? Well, she needs to change. But you promise you're gonna come back. You're not going to go anywhere else in the city there, the area. I says, no, I'll come back and I'll be a good girl and I just want to get out of these clothes. Please let me, you can see my situation. So they admitted that somebody had to take me down. I don't know how I went down. I know I went in a car down to the main road and I had to walk the rest of the way. It was about how many blocks from the main road to our house. Well, we lived on 2nd Street, but the streets were real weird. They weren't like regulars. They were just a street here and a street over there and a street there, you know, that type. It wasn't, and in between a lot of palm trees and banyan trees and everything. So, like, from our house, we really couldn't see the Pearl Harbor because there were so many big, tall trees. But anyway, I got down the road, and all of a sudden I saw a Jeep coming towards me. So I thought, oh, well, you know, I stopped at the side of the road, and I looked, and it was servicemen, and I felt sorry for them because they were just dressed in T-shirts and shorts, and some looked like they even had their underpants on, you know, they were just no real uniform. And then behind them was a truck, and it was a flat red truck. And again, I could see the fellows inside, and it was going very slowly as it went by me, slowly. And the whole back end of the truck was covered with dead bodies, like cordwood, you know, across. And 2 guys that looked up there, that were standing there on the back of the cab, that had probably brought in their own friends out of the beach, you know. Because I'm sure they floated this way to that little beach that we had been at all along there. And so they were bringing them up. Well, I got down on my knees and started to cry and pray all at the same time. I blessed them all. That's all I could do. And I went home and I opened up my can of corn because I didn't even have a can opener with me. So how I did. I had a little bit of corn. But I didn't go back. I was a naughty girl. I didn't go back. I thought I'll just stay here. And that was it. That was
You felt safe? No.
I felt I was at home.
At
you
home.
know. I had a bed, and so that's my war story.
When did you get to see Reuben again?
When did I see you again? 10 days later.
10 days. And you didn't know what had become of him, or?
Well, I knew he was at the base. Yeah, he would send word through some of the fellows that were going.
Well, I
in.
sat out there by my machine gun until dark. About that time, here comes some truck going by, and they yelled out. They said there's sandwiches in the mess hall. So we trailed it back to the mess hall and had sandwiches. That was the first food we had all day long. And from then on, it was just nothing but cleanup, you know. We had to go across the runways with carts, you know, picking up brass, you know, parts of aircraft. We'd have 5 or 6 big 2-wheel carts loaded with brass.
Did you save anything, or did you just want to forget? Did you save any memorabilia from the day, or did you just want to forget it all?
No, I didn't want to forget it. I will never forget that day. But there wasn't anything to save. What was there to save? Except that when later on you asked how long before we saw each other. Well, I saw him in 10 days.
More than 10 days, wasn't it?
Well, it was 10 days when I came out with a pie.
Oh,
Well,
Oh, you
this
baked
so
a
gets
pie.
you, though.
I baked a pie and went and took
What
it,
kind?
lemon meringue.
Oh,
Carried that out to him.
was all you could do.
Yeah, and so then they had, every little while they were having, what did they have, honey? When they would make, they would call out.
Huh.
Well, you know, they would make you hide,
Duck and
Right.
cover or
cover.
take cover.
Yeah,
incoming?
every now
Well,
and
we
then.
had air raids about twice a day or just
Japs?
constantly because everybody was so trigger happy, you know, that
The Jap?
anything at all, well, they'd set off an air raid.
So
Oh, that siren.
Yeah.
So when I went out to the base and took him his pie, they made me get into another gully alongside the road. And here I am, but protecting my pie all the way. I made it. But this time I was in a little blue boil dress, you know, just so nicely dressed to go see my husband. And the reason they paid me, here comes the soldiers out, or Marines, with their guns, you know, and they were protecting the road going into the base. Have you ever been to El Toro?
No.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're the main road, Sand Canyon is this way, and
Have a
then,
guardhouse and
yeah, and then you go quite a ways before you actually get to the base. So that I was in that, like an area like that,
Mm-hmm.
to the side in the gully, and then another soldier would come and he said I could go up a little bit further and a little bit further. Finally, I got to the gate, and Reuben was just sitting down to lunch,
you're walking?
walking with my pie and my pretty little blue dress. So then Reuben came. When I got to the gate, the officer said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, they called, said I could come. I got word that I could come." He says, "Yes, but we had a raid since then, and we called it off." Well, I didn't hear that.
Air raid, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so they sent Reuben out. Now you tell
I
your
was
son.
I was down and around the mess hall and somebody came up and says, "Hey, your wife is out at the main gate." What? What is she doing here? Right in the middle of an air raid. Well, there was a little building outside the base, outside the gate, that the army had used. So even I and this friend of ours, that lived with us,
What was his
Her-
name?
she came along, you know.
John.
So the four of us sat in that building all night long until daylight, so she could get back go back home again.
But how did he eat
And all we had was that piece of pie. That
meringue pie?
yeah.
Tell him how you ate it.
With your fingers?
How did you eat it, Reuben? How did you eat the pie?
Yeah. What was it? Lemon meringue. Was it?
Yeah, how did you eat it? Don't you remember?
Well, I had a knife on me, a hunting knife. Which is
Ate it with the knife.
yeah.
So, but that was all they had to eat.
Well, I hope that was the best lemon pie you ever made.
So
That
that
was
was.
quite a costly pie.
Then on the 27th of December, I spent Christmas alone. On the 27th of December, he got word that he could come visit. So that was nice.
Yeah, they kept us on the base. So
So that's
it was a
20
long
days later.
stretch of no information as to what was happening, you know.
Mm.
And they weren't taking any chances of being off the base.
What did they do with all those dead soldiers?
What?
What did they do with all those dead sailors and soldiers? Did they fly them home or bury them there?
All buried in Hawaii.
Or? There
yeah.
was thousands, right? Couple thousand? 3,000? 3,000?
to
2,000.
do something.
And you didn't know one single one of them, huh? Hmm.
They were mostly all sailors.
Yeah, and you were Marines. There wasn't much interaction.
Well, we just lived, in different neighborhoods, you might
Right.
say. And the Marines and sailors, they just walked the streets of Hawaii. You know why?
How did you pass the time with all by yourself and
Oh, I passed the time and got to know my neighbors.
Tell them about the rooster.
Oh yeah, well that's.
Another story.
I would like to tell you one story. This, on the 6th of December, we had gone to my friend's house, who was they lived on Hickam Field. She had married a Army captain, and she had been on the ship with me when I went over there. And she was my roommate. Anyway, when
You want
I,
to sit there? She can get down.
so this is the 6th. We remember I told you that about the trash.
Mm-hmm.
The reason was because then they were going to come over Sunday morning, and we were all going to go to the beach on a party, on a picnic. I'm telling about Vivian and the captain.
Who?
Vivian and the captain.
Oh,
Anyway, I think this really tells you about history. Number one, on our way home, Reuben, I said, we went over the Ia Pass, and you could look right down into Pearl Harbor. Just beautiful, all the lights shining on the water, glistening just so beautifully. And I said, oh, Reuben, look at that beautiful sight, that gorgeous sight with all the Christmas lights shining on the water. And then he yells out, oh my God! They're sitting ducks.
Talking about the airplanes or the ships?
No, he was talking about
what a beautiful target! It
Uh-huh.
just came to my mind. I don't know why, but
being a service person.
You were talking about the aircraft or the ships?
The
it
ships.
featured our whole fleet anchored in
Ah.
one harbor like that.
So-
Everything except two carriers.
This is after the fact or before the attack?
No, this is on the 6th.
The day before.
Right before the attack,
The night before.
it came to you that they were like sitting ducks.
Yeah. And
Huh.
And as he said that, I said, oh, Reuben, you don't even let me enjoy the beauty of this. Why don't you stop the car? And I kind of was upset with him. I said something, and he felt, well, he's got to be a nice husband. And he reached over and said, well, honey, that's the way it is, or something. I don't know what he said. But what happened there was that he had a cigar in his hand, and the ashes hit my leg. Oh, now I'm really mad because he just
He burned you.
he burnt my new, absolutely new nylon stockings. They were just so new, no, very little people had nylon stockings, but I did. And I had just paid $3.50 for a pair.
Oh dear.
Can't win for losing.
Yeah. So I think they'll remind you that we didn't have phones at that time. All the
Right.
transportation. Oh, Well, that's just about it.
That's
As
great.
far as December 7th. Oh,
Well, why don't you rewind to when you met? Let's tell that story one more time.
oh my.
You were pretty young.
At Radcliffe's.
I was 21. That's not young.
It isn't?
Well, you're not 19 anymore. You're not in the teens. You're a working girl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I used to go to the dance with my cousin, Gloria. And also there were some boys from school that would pick me up, take me. And because Sunday night you could dance for free. And they had, the big band. And I was sitting with George, the boy that drove the car, at the dance hall. I had already danced with several fellows. And all of a sudden he says, and my cousin Gloria was like a model. She was real pretty and tall and everything. And next to her I was just a short, cute little thing, that's all. and George says, Eva, there's that fellow's looking at you over there. And I says, what fellow? He says, look, he says. So I looked over there. He says, oh, that fellow with a white suit. He looks like a Chicago gangster because he was wearing a white linen suit with a black shirt and a yellow tie. Now picture that in your mind.
Yeah.
Chicago gangster.
Yeah.
So, and then he says, oh, well, he's getting closer, Eva. I says, well, let him get close. He's probably waiting for Gloria to come back. Because boys didn't wait for her when we met.
Oh,
So
on the
when,
boat, you mean?
no, on the,
Radcliffe.
Oh,
at Radcliffe. So all of a sudden George says, Eva, turn around. And I says, look over here, he says. I was facing him this way. I says, yeah, I says, he's still there waiting for Gloria. Well, all of a sudden, Eva, look up. Oh, I looked up. He was real close. He was standing right there. I looked up and I said, oh, well, George, I says, I guess he wants to dance with me. So Reuben, of course, heard all this. So we we just walked out around maybe from here over to the window over there and just started at the dance floor. And I stood there and he says, and he looked down at me and he says, I never realized I was so tall. Well, I melted right then because everybody used to call me Shorty or what, did they cut your legs off at the knees and all kinds of remarks like that. Now here he blamed himself for being tall. So I melted.
That's so
then.
sweet.
Wasn't that sweet?
He's a gentleman.
And
What do you remember, Reuben? What do you remember about Eva?
yeah, I remember it very well.
Well,
What
tell
do
us
you
about
remember?
your side of it.
Huh?
Tell your side of it, he says.
Well, my side was pretty much the same as it. We used to go to Ratliff's every time on Liberty on Saturday night, and I loved to dance. That was my biggest joy. So I was seeing her out on the dance floor dancing around, and looked like she knew what she was doing. And I thought I'd like to dance with her, so I walked over to, and that's when I said, would you like to dance? You know, the music and everything couldn't say much. So she stood up and we went out on the dance floor. That started the whole thing.
So you pretty much liked her right away?
Yeah.
What'd you like about her?
Huh?
What did you like about her?
Well, she She was so cute, you know, for one thing. And she was such a good dancer. And we seemed to hit it off right from the very beginning. And after the dance, I walked her to the bus where she was with her cousin. And
Not really.
nobody had vehicles in those days. You used the bus. So we met again later for at the dance floor.
Again.
Okay.
Made a date,
I think
and
You
I
weren't
don't
as-
know if you remember old Ratus. It's on Broadway in San Diego. It was up at the far end, up near 12th Street.
Okay. You weren't in the service at that time? You were not in the service yet?
Oh, yeah.
You were.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to remember that this was before she was born.
What?
That was all before she was born.
Oh yeah.
So what year would that have been? 44?
39.
39?
This is 1938,
39.
huh?
39.
What?
39.
39.
Mm.
Okay.
That was well
Yeah, I
before
went
I
to the
was
Marine
born.
Corps in 38. I was stationed at North Island.
Oh my.
My father was there. That's where my father was.
Yeah,
He was an airplane mechanic.
yeah. Yeah, we had a Marine detachment there, about 500 men. That was West Coast Aviation at that time.
That's probably where my father worked. My family lived in Coronado.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for serving. I'm glad you made it through Pearl Harbor.
Thanks to Edward Dew and Yuffie. My goodness, she has the stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Edward joined the
What
Marines
month was
because
it
of
you, left Hawaii on that
Reuben.
transport? Was that in July or?
July.
You stayed in Pearl Harbor till July?
Yeah. I didn't
Wow.
want to leave my husband. I just married him.
Well, I thought maybe they would make you
A
go.
lot of women left. A lot of women were leaving. But I'll stay till the last, I said.
Yeah.
And I did.
And see, that was a Mariposa you came on back,
No.
or when you went over was the,
When I went on the Mariposa.
yeah, you went on the Mariposa to Hawaii. I remember when we went to say goodbye to, yeah. But,
Yeah.
Well, happy Veterans Day, 2010.
Thank
So
you.
that's how many years? 60.
Say thank you.
Hmm?
Say
30.
thank you.
What?
Let's
Thank
see.
you.
19.
you.
What was the date of Pearl Harbor? How many years now? 60.
I can't hear.
Well, wait, 41, so it's pushing 70.
Years.
It's almost 70 years.
Almost 70 years. Well, that's some pretty good remembering there, Aunt and Uncle.
Almost 70 years. Next,
Still.
yeah, it'll be 69 years this December.
December.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, we're done.